1900, 19,000, 19,000, 933. Today is Wednesday. Okay, it doesn't matter. Yesterday I watched a little bit about Jung's technique, active imagination. I was reading his book a couple of hours, and I almost finished the book Psychological Types, and there's the latter chapter is devoted to terminology, and Jung describes all terminology in this chapter which is used in the book, and it's very useful for me because by reading the terminology I understand much more than just by reading all these previous chapters, and finding some important things, as for example this technique, active imagination. I decided to watch a little bit in the internet, and simultaneously I recalled the idea that I used in my very beginning of learning, when I tried to see and find some important things that I can learn, that I want to improve in myself, and when I just use this typing on YouTube some questions. For example, when I started learning English, I used such questions as how to improve my imagination, how to improve my memory, how to improve my, I don't know, thinking, everything, writing, and I tried to find some important ideas and to type such questions, and by doing this I found many important contents. I found many important videos which helped me to work in such field which I was learning. And now I decided, wow, it's actually maybe several months I don't use this technique. I don't find anything on the internet by typing some questions. I only watch some lections that I decided to watch before, or I just find some recommended content in the YouTube, and it's like extremely incorrect, because I remember while I was finding something, it was always something useful. I was talking to myself, I found some important idea, and then I started to find the material which can help me to understand the idea better in the internet. But now I don't use this technique, and it's like it's important thing. I just want to emphasize it in order to pay attention for that further. And also about Jung active imagination technique. It's pretty easy, and I think I used the same technique during many years, but I didn't know that it was precisely Jungian technique. What he does, it's like active dreams, but no, I don't use Jungian technique. I mostly use it in my writing. I just trying to focus on something that is in my head right now, many times, not always. Sometimes I just describe the events of my day, but usually, for example, in Hour of Thinking, it was almost the same thing as active imagination. I just tried to imagine what happens in my head, what's interesting for me, and I created some content, but unlike Jungian technique, I created it in language, and I didn't imagine some images. I imagined just language itself, and for me it was like active imagination, but probably if Jung means mostly imagine some figures or some images or some situations, play some, I don't know, scenes in his imagination. I just imagine the text, and it's not just only the text. Of course, the text is accompanied with many images, with many, I don't know, many scenes that I play in my imagination. But as a final product, it's always the text, and I try to focus on text and create and took it's not. It's like I see images, but I focus not precisely on them, but on describing these images in the most appropriate words, and also not only most appropriate, but it somehow should turn out be fuck it's okay. Let's focus. There's no necessity to talk fast. I can do it slower. It's easier. If I do it slower, I can express myself clearer. It's obviously. But when I'm trying to say something fast, I miss a lot of important things. It's just a point I have to pay attention for. Okay, let's continue about union technique. This technique, it's something important. I did something similar throughout many years, and now I've found that I can just add something to my technique. It's like I can use the material that they developed throughout many years of psychotherapy practice. But they, I mean, of course, not Jung, but the whole circle of Jung's ideas, okay, and people who worked in this field, and I can just watch what they're talking about in the internet, compare with something I do, and then to apply it for my own practice. Because this exercise, like 5 minutes of talking to myself, it's almost the same. I don't prepare myself. I want to make it spontaneously. I just want to put the camera and talk everything what comes to me. And it's like active imagination technique. Because for me, there's nothing nothing certain that I am going to talk. I always start from something and then I go somewhere else. And this is important because I see what really now in my head, and I can explain it. Even if I am talking about the same stuff often, it doesn't matter, because it means that in my head right now the stuff are dominating, and they try to put my attention to bring my attention to themselves. And if it's important, I will see it's important and I will work with that. I will do something with that. It helps me to improve my language, but it also helps me to improve my life, to make some kind of harmony in my way of living, because sometimes there are problems arise and I can control my desires usually when I use computer video games. It's like I actually want to play in games, but I want to control it. I don't want to play weeks uninterruptedly. And if I'm able to play several games per week, it's probably will be great. But then I think about my learning and I understand that it seriously harmful for my learning, because if I play 4 hours every week, it means I will sacrifice 4 hours hours of learning for that activity. And also it gives me some kind of relax, but I want to find relax only in my learning exercises, because for me learning it's like a relax. Yesterday I thought, oh yeah, how to learn English. Just find how you make joy, how you have joy. And if you are do something, just do the same by using English. I mean, if you like to watch some stupid movies or some stupid jokes, just do it in English. Learn, do it in English. At first it will be a little bit difficult, but then it will be easier. Okay, it seems I'm talking about different things. Active imagination, I want to focus on this thing. Actually, by focusing, I mean I have to keep it in mind and don't go along the side out of this topic. Really, active imagination is something important. I think it's a good technique for self-improvement, for improvement not only in abstract sense but in concrete, because I can use imagination for my writing. It helps me to develop some ideas, to develop some, to develop language, because really imagination gives you so much, and when you are able to describe everything that comes to you through appropriate words, it's so great, and you can get a lot of joy from that just by describing some images. And the better you describe your images, the more they will come, and the more sophisticated they will be, because at the beginning you just can talk almost anything, and then if you develop it, if you do it better, if you work with your imagination, and if you develop it, then you will be able to do it better and better, and eventually it's possible to to achieve such a great state when you will be able to describe everything that comes to your imagination. It means not only some stupid technique for developing one of the function of your brain. It also means that it's like it's going to be useful for your permanent state because all the time you have to be with yourself, and all the time your brain works. And if your imagination can throw you some some beautiful images, and to make you work with these images, it's interesting thing. You will not be boring, you will just get, and it's about relaxing you. It's like if you use your imagination to relax yourself, you needn't to find something outside. You can look within, and you can relax just by looking within and finding something that can help you to relax. Okay, it's how many? 12 minutes. It's a good thing. My battery uncharged 10 minutes, and I'm able to talk so much using the camera. It's a good thing. If it will be all the time, I think I will talk much